Okay, now assuming you are a student and using Microsoft Office 365 as part of your university or college supplied account, then within the app launcher of Office 365 you should be able to find Planner in the list of apps, either here or by going to all apps and in this list here. So all I've done is I've clicked on Planner, which has launched Planner like this. Now, because I haven't yet created any plans with this account, it comes up at the beginning and welcomes me and then tells me that I can create a plan. So let me take you through the process of creating your first plan. So we'll see we have the create a plan button here. I'm going to click on that one, and then it's going to ask me to enter a name for the plan and then decide if I want it to be a public or a private plan. So I'm going to put Andy's plan semester 1. Okay, so let's pretend it's just a plan for the first semester of this year. Now under privacy, you'll see we can have a public plan, and this allows anybody within the organisation to view this plan. So if you're a student and you're looking at creating a plan for you personally, if I'm honest, I would probably leave it as private. If it turns out that you want to allow certain people to access your plan, then even if it's private, you can add members to your plan to be able to view from within the organisation. And it might be a good idea for most people just to launch a plan as a private plan and then change it further down the line if you wish. But for now, I'll choose private. You'll see under options, there is an option here to add a description for group members. So if you're adding anybody, it just tells them a little bit more about what the plan is, but we don't need to put anything in there just now. So we have our new plan title, we've left it as private, and to create the plan all I need to do is to click create plan. So I'm going to click on that button there and it's going to create my plan just now. So let me tell you more about the interface at this point, and then I'll show you how you can start adding tasks to your particular plan. So starting at the top left, you'll see you have this little button here that just allows you to minimize the left hand menu or to expand to give you a little bit more room. You have an option here below that to start a new plan if you want to. You've got your planner hub here. Now this just lets you see an overview of your plans and tasks, and I'm not going to use that just now because that option and the option below, my tasks, you'll see if I click on those, we can't really see much about our particular plan because we haven't added anything to it yet. So for now I'm just going to leave it on the standard plan, so I can click back on my plan here and return to the main view. You also have a favourites area where if there are multiple plans that you've created, then what you can do is you can mark your plan as a favourite by clicking on the star at the top here, and then what it will do is it will add it to the favourites area here on the left, so you can access it more frequently and easier. Or easily, should I say. You've also got a recent area here for any plans which you have recently viewed. I'll minimise that menu to give us more space. At the top here we've got the name of our plan, and below that we have 3 dots which allows us to switch between the plans here. So if you have multiple plans you can dip in and out of them from this button here. You will see we have the board view. Now just now I don't have many tasks, or any tasks for that matter, so you can't really see too much here, but as I add tasks and buckets to the plan, it will all become more obvious as to how the interface looks with lots of content. So I'll leave board, charts and schedule until we've added some content. Next to that we have the more options here, and as you can see there are quite a few different options. So throughout this tutorial I'm going to show you what these options do. You have your account name up here. In this option you have the members who are part of the plan. At this moment in time we just have myself here, but if I do want to add other members I can do so from this menu, and I'll explain more about that shortly. And then obviously filter here, you can filter your tasks, so you can view them by things like the due date, the priority, progress, any buckets or any that you've assigned to other people. So this is really helpful once you've added quite a lot of other tasks to your particular plan. And then you can start grouping the content by what we call buckets, which I'll explain more about shortly, or you can group your tasks by who they're assigned to, when they're due, or priority. So you can see just from the menu options there once we start adding tasks to our planner, we can really start digging down into the tasks that we need to action first. Or if you're adding other people to your particular plan, then you can start looking at who is perhaps overdue with tasks, when they were due, and you can mark them off as completed if they have been completed. So it's a super easy to use tool, but it's extremely powerful. And I think for students planning workload throughout the semester, either coursework or perhaps maybe if you're doing an internship or your own personal work or reports, it could be incredibly useful to you guys. Now that we've created our plan, let's take a look at the settings for this particular plan. So if I go to the More option at the top just next to Schedule, you'll see if you scroll down you have an option here called Plan Settings. So if I open that, you can edit your particular settings for your plan. So under Plan Name here, perhaps I want to change this to Plan for Semester 1/2. So let's pretend that actually instead of just Semester 1, we need to include planning for Semester 2. So when I click away, you'll see that that has updated the title of our plan here. Below that, you have backgrounds. Now, I've not added any tasks yet, but you get an idea from looking at these backgrounds how it's going to look with the different columns or buckets and the particular tasks contained within either of those. So this white one is the default, but you can maybe change the background to something that helps the tasks and the buckets stand out a little bit more. You'll see you've got like a flag here sort of effect. You've got this almost like army camouflage, and there's a couple in there. They're a bit weird and wacky, but there is an option just to go back and leave it as the default if you want to. As well as that, you'll see at the bottom there is the option to delete your plan. So if you've created a plan and then you want to fully delete it, you can click on delete this plan, and then what you will need to do is you will need to check this option to say you understand you're deleting the plan and all of the tasks associated with it, and that they will be permanently deleted. And then if you click delete, it will delete your plan. You'll see within the group tab up here, you can do things like change the group name, add a description, and make your plan either public or leave it as private. Now the information here around the groups, when you create a Microsoft plan in Planner, it will also create its own group with that particular plan. This is useful because you can add other people to the group, you can use a shared mailbox, you can have conversations, you can share documents within that group. And the way you can access that is to go into your email in Office 365, and you'll see there is a groups group, if you like, on the left hand side menu. Also, if you're in people, then within people you'll see we have the groups area here where we have groups which you are the member of, the owner of, or any which you have deleted. So I'm not going to cover groups in any great detail today because we're focusing very much on a solo plan, but you can add members to your plan and to the group, and then those people can use the shared group tools if you like. You also see within plan settings you have notifications. So in there you can set up things like emails being sent out whenever comments are added to tasks. You can have Planner send you a notification if somebody assigns a task to you. Again, that's really useful if either you're assigning tasks to yourself and you want an email reminder, or if other people are members of your particular plan and they assign work to you, you'll be notified. And you'll also see here you get basically reminders if tasks assigned to you are late or are due, etc. So there's a few different settings there, and these are on by default, these two here. Now, if you do make any changes, you'll need to click the Save button. I haven't changed anything here in notifications, so I'm just going to click the cross to close that down. Right, so we've gone through the plan creation stage. We've had a look at the interface and what the buttons and menu options do. Now it's time to understand how we can actually build our plan. Now you'll see here we have this bucket at the top called To Do, and we have another option here called Add a New Bucket. So by default, Microsoft Planner has given you its first bucket called To Do. Now let's say we wanted to change that to, I don't know, information about your thesis or dissertation, okay, so work to do with that. what you can do is you can hover over the particular bucket, click on the three dots, and you can rename it. So buckets, you've got to think of these as almost like folders where you're going to file your tasks into. So to do would be okay maybe if you've only got a couple of tasks, but if you're going to be doing a lot of different things, they're pretty much all going to be to-do options or pieces of work that you need to do anyway. So I find it a bit easier to categorize these buckets based on what you're doing. So let's call this one dissertation work. Okay, so let's pretend we're writing our dissertation and all of the associated tasks with our dissertation need to go into there. So all I'll do is press the return key and it has now updated that particular bucket. Let's say I want to create another bucket for work that isn't associated with my dissertation. So I'm going to create a new bucket by clicking on the add bucket option, and I'm going to call this one coursework. Okay, and again I'll press the enter key, and I'm going to add another bucket for society work, society duties, and maybe we have another bucket where we're going to call this like personal. Okay, that's the personal work. So we've got three different buckets here just now. We've got coursework, society, and personal. The first bucket we added hasn't disappeared. You'll just see because we've now got four, it's shifted along. So you can use the scroll bar at the bottom to bring that one back into view. I'll leave it as 4 buckets just now, but you'll see if I was to go back into the plan settings and just change the background, it's now a little bit clearer that we have 4 particular buckets where we're going to add our tasks. So let me show you how you can add tasks to these particular buckets. Right, so let's start off with our dissertation work. Okay, so the thinking here is we've got some tasks to do with my dissertation. So I'm going to click on add task, and then it's going to ask me to enter a name from a task. So I'm going to just put something really basic like write introduction. Okay, so I've just got to write the introduction. Now below that you'll see we have set a due date. So when do I need to write the introduction for my dissertation by? Well, it highlights today's date, which is Saturday the 18th of September. I'm going to say that I need to have written my full introduction for my dissertation by Thursday the 30th of September. Okay, now you'll see there's an assign button. Because this plan is just for myself at the moment, I don't really need to use the assign button because I don't need to assign it to anybody other than myself. Now, you don't necessarily need to assign the task to yourself. If you do assign it to yourself, then you will get an email notifications letting you know that you have tasks overdue. If you don't, then you won't get anything. So it's up to you whether you want to or not. You'll see that because I'm the only member of the group, I am listed in the unassigned, but I can assign the work to myself by doing that. If I want to undo that, all I need to do is click on the cross and it's no longer assigned to me. Now to create this task, what I need to do is click on the add task button. It will now create that task for me. So here we have the task added. If I want to add a secondary task, so let's say this one is to compile some references. Okay, so let's say we've just got to pull together some references for my dissertation. I'm going to set the due date for that one quite far in advance, so to September, October. Let's maybe make that the 30th of November. And again, I'm not going to worry about assigning this to myself just now. I'm going to just add this task. And finally, for another task to do with the dissertation, let me say I'm going to just meet with my supervisor. So we're going to maybe go over the introduction for my dissertation. So meet with to discuss intro. And then the date that we need to meet to discuss the introduction, well, it's got to be written by the 30th of September. Let's maybe say we're going to have it ready by the 18th of November. So add task. Okay, so we've now added 3 tasks to our dissertation bucket. If we want to add any other coursework pieces or society duties or personal to those particular buckets, it's the exact same process. So I'll go into coursework. I want to add a piece of coursework here, so I'm going to put complete user testing for project, and I'm going to set a due date for that. Well, that's got to be completed by the Friday 22nd of October. So I'll click add task, and then I'll add in just one other task here for my coursework. So I'm just going to say something like I want to submit SG55 report. Okay, so some report for a piece of coursework there. Obviously that course code means something to me, so that's okay. And I'll set the due date for that one. Well, the good news is that one doesn't need to be put in until the 1st of December. So there we go, add task. Now, in the interest of keeping up with speed with the video, I'm going to add a couple more tasks to this particular plan, and then we'll look at how we can then further edit the plans the tasks which we've already created. I hope you're enjoying this video tutorial so far. As you can see, Microsoft Planner really is an excellent tool to help you prepare for each semester at university or college. If you're enjoying this video, please do think about giving it a like, and maybe comment below to let me know which planning tools you normally use or how you prefer to plan your time. As always, if you've not subscribed, please do click the subscribe button and make sure you tick that bell so you're notified about any new videos I release. Now, back to the tutorial. Okay, so as you can see on screen, I have now added some extra tasks to each of the 4 buckets. So now we have quite a few different tasks on. I want to show you how you can go into each individual task and further edit the properties of those. So let's say, for example, we'll take this first task in the dissertation work bucket. Now, if you want to update this one, what we can do is we can click on it, and now you'll see you get some extra options. So initially you've just got to create the tasks, and then what you do is you go in and you can maybe make some additional changes, and you get some further options which are important for managing and viewing the progress of your particular tasks. So you'll see, for example, this first one, meet with the supervisor to discuss intro. Now you'll see it belongs to this particular dissertation work bucket, but I can add it to a different bucket. So if, for example, this was actually more to do with my coursework, I could move it into the coursework bucket, and you'll see it has now come out of dissertation work and it will have gone into the other bucket. But of course I can move it back if I need to by just selecting the other bucket. When it comes to the progress, you'll see that we have in here the due date is the 18th of October. This is actually mid-September just now, so we've got a bit of time with this. If I haven't started it, then I can leave it as a default, which says that it's not been started, but there is an option to mark it as in progress or even completed. You'll see when it's in progress, the little in progress icon appears in the actual task within Planner just there, but I'll move it back to not started for now. Now, with regards to priority, you'll see you have 4 different options. You've got urgent, important, medium, or low. This meet with the supervisor to discuss an intro, it's a medium priority, so I'll leave it that way. When we are working on a piece of work that maybe has a start date and an end date, you can assign a start date. Because we haven't started this just yet, I'm going to leave it as it is, but if maybe I want to start on this a week before the due date, then I could put that in, and what it will do is it will update my calendar and the view in Outlook to show that, but we'll not cover that just at this moment in time. You can add any notes, so I could put something like view invite in calendar to obtain meeting link, and then you'll see within notes you can actually show this on the card. Now these are called task cards, so if I check this option, you'll see it now appears here. So it may be that sometimes with your particular tasks you want to include notes that at a glance you can view, but you will need to turn those on using the show on card option if you want them to be displayed there. If not, you'll need to click on the card to get taken to this particular view to then see your notes. You can also add checklist items. So let's say, for example, to meet with the supervisor, one of the items I have to do is to book meeting. Then I'm going to press the return key, and that adds the first one in. The second thing we need to do aside from booking the meeting is I need to write my intro, and then we need to arrange a follow-up meeting, and then sign off on intro text. So we've got 4 different pieces of the puzzle here. We've got to book a meeting, write an introduction, arrange a follow-up meeting, and sign off. Now if we had to change the order of any of these, so let's say for example before I booked the meeting I wanted to actually write the intro, I could click and grab it to move it up if I want to, or of course I can put it back to how it was. In the same way as your note, once you add some checklist items you can show these on the card like this, but you'll see you can't show a note as well. So if you do want to show something on the card, it needs to either be the note or be your checklist items. And you can put in attachments too. So if you had perhaps some advice for writing your introduction, or if you wanted to put an attachment such as a PDF, you can use the add attachment button and it will attach to the particular task. And then you can put comments in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click off of here now, and you'll see we have updated that particular task now, and we have the checklist options appeared here. Now what I can do is if I need to mark one of these as completed, I can check it off by clicking here, and you'll see it now removes that from the list and tells me I have completed 1 of 4. But if I want to open the card back up, I can just click here, and if I've maybe clicked on this by mistake, I can uncheck it, or maybe I've done a couple of them, I can check a couple of them off. You'll see you can also add labels as well, so if you want to color code things, so maybe for example my tasks where I need to do something with my dissertation, I want them to be pink, then you'll see you can add a label to the particular task. So I could then go down to the next task and I could mark that one as pink as well. And then I could do the same with this one here, so we can make that pink. Now let's say for example whilst we're here, I've actually started to write the introduction. So I have started today, so I'm going to put in the start date as that, and I need to mark the progress as in progress. But this is quite a high priority piece of work, so I'm going to change the priority of this one to important. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the comments, writing began on, and then I'll put the date in, so 18th September, and I'll put, I don't know, 300 words, complete. Now all I'll do is press enter or the send button, and it has added that comment into here. Okay, so we now have a kind of thread of the work we've been doing. I'm going to close this one down, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to quickly go through the other tasks within each of the other buckets to add some extra content to those, and we'll come back and I'll show you how we can start filtering and grouping our tasks in buckets to give you a kind of different view where you can view content by priority or by completion date or by who they're assigned to. Right, so I have now updated each of the tasks within our plan and within each of the individual buckets. Now at this moment in time, looking at the plan as it is, it can be quite difficult for me to work out which are the most important tasks, which are the tasks I have started, which are the tasks that are due next. I mean, for example, we can see that this is an urgent task or this is an important one. We can see that these are in progress, but it's still a bit difficult to work out when I need to have certain tasks completed by, and to try and prioritize by the most high priority or the ones that are due first. So let me show you how you can take the tasks from this view and change how they are displayed. Now first of all, what you can do is you can use these options at the top here. So we're looking at the board view here. We've just got the buckets and the tasks. If I go into charts, this is where I think the tool gets really, really useful, because I can see that I've got 14 tasks in total. I have 10 which I haven't started, and I've got 4 which I have. I've got none that are overdue, but I haven't completed any. So this is your status view. Then you can view by bucket, so you can see your dissertation work bucket, coursework, society duties and personal. And when we hover over each of the graph lines here, the bar charts, we can see how many within each bucket either have or haven't been started. So blue is in progress, black is hasn't been started. Then we've got by priority here, so we have 2 which are urgent, we have 3 which are important, 6 which are medium, and we've got 3 which are low. So what we could do is we could say, well, these are the urgent ones, we need to start working on those first. Then below that you'll see the members. Now we haven't assigned any here, but we could, if we had multiple group members, view the amount of tasks which are outstanding or in progress or completed or late by particular members, okay? But because we're just working alone, this bit's not terribly useful or important just now. On the right hand side here you can see all of the tasks, and again they're grouped by bucket. You can minimize the buckets by clicking on the bucket title or the little arrow here, and then you can display your task buckets here, and then of course you can open them if you want to. So I'm going to open these back up, and what I'll do is I will head into the schedule view up here. So let me show you how it looks in schedule. So schedule basically opens a calendar view of all of the activity, showing you the start date right through to whenever the work needs to be completed by. Okay, so you can see this create an Instagram account for the Golf Society runs from the 8th when it was started all the way through to when it's due. But you'll see below you've got more tasks, so you can click on these, and for the particular date you can see if you've got other tasks due or in progress. For me personally, I'm not a massive fan of the schedule view. I mean, you can change to different months, you can jump through the months this way or to the next month or previous month. You can also view by week, so this gives you a little bit of a better kind of breakdown where you can see by day what you're working on. But personally, I think the charts view or the board view are probably the best of the two. Let me now show you how you can start grouping and filtering to make more sense of your particular tasks and buckets. So first of all, let's show the group by bucket option. So we're looking at these individual buckets as they were, and you can actually move these around by clicking and dragging them. So if I want society duties to be the first bucket and then personal to maybe be the second, I can click and drag along like that. But I'm going to go where it says group by bucket, and you'll see I want to start grouping them by progress. So let's see, group by progress. And now instead of having the 4 buckets by title that we had before, we now have not started and in progress, okay? And then we've got completed. So here we have all of the different tasks which are not started and all of those which are in progress. Again, we can go back into this group option and we can say, well, show me the ones which are due first of all. So here we go, these are due next week and these are due in the future, so beyond next week. And then finally you can sort them by priority. Now I would say personally by priority or by due date are probably the most useful in my experience, because here we have the most urgent first, then the most important, then our medium, followed by our low tasks. Let me pop this back into the bucket view like we had before. What I want to do now is I want to mark something as completed. So let's say we have this urgent task for Dave, and I want to column regarding some building work. Now that task has now been completed, so I'm going to check it off by clicking on the little mark task as complete button, and it now removes it from this list, but it keeps it in the same bucket, it just adds it to a show completed group underneath. Okay, let's say that this update LinkedIn profile, we see it's in progress, but I'm actually going to change that to completed, and it does the same thing, it marks that one as completed. If we now go back to the charts view, we'll see we've got 2 tasks which are completed, and we can see they are listed here in the personal bucket, but we've also ticked off one which was urgent and one which was important. If I jump back to the board view and then change the group view back to priority, you'll see that the urgent one has now moved down into completed here. So that's how you can mark tasks as completed or change them. Now of course, if we've marked one of them as completed but we haven't, I can take this one and I can uncheck it and it will put it back into here. It remains urgent, but it is no longer completed. But of course, if calling Dave isn't urgent anymore, I can mark it just down as important, and it will move it across to the important task bucket list on the right hand side there. Let's have a look at filtering, because as you work through your university life, you're probably going to have an awful lot of different tasks within your particular plan. So what I can do here is I can go into filter, and I can say, well, actually, just show me content which is due next week. And now everything else will be hidden. So these are the tasks that are due next week. And it doesn't matter what priority they are. These are the ones that are due. Of course, it's going to show me them in the priority buckets, but I can switch that back to standard bucket. And now it's just showing me what is due next week. If I go back up to the filter and change that to maybe anything that's due this week, and then remove next week, because you'll see it's still checked, we have no tasks due this week. So let's put that back to next week. Now below that, you'll see we've got a priority group. So I want to show any tasks which are due next week, but which are also urgent. Now you'll see I've got 2 tasks due next week, but only one is urgent. So when I choose urgent, it now takes the other one out. And then I want to have a look at any tasks which are urgent and due next week, but which are not started. And you'll see we've already started that task, so it's not going to show it. But if I make it in progress, you'll see we can now see that. So there are lots of different options there for you to be able to change how your particular buckets and tasks are displayed. But I would definitely encourage you to think about using the filters and using the different grouping options to show your particular plan in the way that you need it to be presented to you based on how you like to prioritize your work. Now, if you need to clear any filters, you can one by one untick them, or you can just go up to clear at the top and you'll see it puts it back to this view. So we're now back to the default board view looking at our tasks by buckets, and I'm just going to drag it back to how it was at the beginning. So I think it looked something like this. Now I wanted to finish up by just showing you a couple of final options that I think are incredibly useful. So if I go to the options menu up the top here, just next to schedule, so this is the more options, you'll see that we can go into export plan to Excel. So if you want an Excel view of your particular plan, you can click export to Excel, and what will happen is it will create an Excel plan for you. And here we have the plan name, the date of the export, then we've got all of the individual tasks here, so the task ID. Now personally I would probably hide this particular column because it doesn't really mean much to me, these kind of task IDs. What does mean quite a lot is the name of a task, the bucket, and we can see everything by progress, the priority, who they're assigned to, who they were created by, when they were started, when they're due. And what you could do is you could put in filters. So if I want to add a filter here, I can go to sort and filter, I can filter, and I can say just show me my priority, my, let's see, urgent stuff. And we can see we have one thing which is urgent, or of course you can select all and view everything. So you can really kind of filter down if you've got a lot of tasks in Excel if you want to. The other option that is available to you is you can add the plan to your Outlook calendar so that all of the tasks that you have will be added into Outlook, which is really, really useful.